Good evening, good evening. Oh my goodness, good evening, good evening. Oh, such a beautiful day out. It's Thursday, November the 10th, 2022. God is so good. God is so good. God is really good. But this evening, we have a hot topic. Our show, Dare to Deal with Truth. We're dealing with something that is very near and dear to me. Probably one of the hottest topics I'll ever talk about. I have no reservation of it. I have no fear of talking about it. To be truthfully honest with you, I faced it myself. And I wanted to come on this evening because there are a lot of people that have dealt with it, but never really wanted to acknowledge it. So I take this moment very seriously. I take Mad Cave very seriously. The reason why I take Mad Cave so seriously is because it's happening a little too often. Too many of our kings and queens, even our teenagers now, are succumbing to suicide. And I want to come on this evening from the heart, and near dear, very near dear to me. But I want it to be as transparent as possible with the supporters of Mad Cave, the people that may be on the fence about, is this really where we are? Yes, this is where we are. So I want to start off by saying what it is. Suicide, of course, Webster defines it as someone who takes their own life, whether it be by firearm, drug overdose, whatever they see fit to do to end their life. That's what suicide is. But I had to dig deeper for my own understanding, not only for the people that support us, but for the people that work in mental health, as well as the people that support mental health practitioners, even nonprofits that also support mental health and the well being of others. And I had to do my research not only based on what science says, what God says, but also based on experience. And I'm happy to say that it has no power. And when I say it has no power, the reason why I say that is simply because it is a moment. The topic this evening is suicidal, guilt but grace. If you had to be truthfully honest with yourself, everybody has had a suicidal moment. Whether they want to admit it or not, everybody has had a suicidal moment. A moment when you felt the world was against you. You felt like there was no one to depend on. You felt as if there was no solution to this problem. What happens in this moment is because the problem is a problem. Sometimes, depending on your mental status in that problem, your mental stability in that problem, your strength in that problem, your blinders become a little bit larger than normal. So, a simple solution is no longer easily attainable. And the reason is because in that moment, the problem seems way larger than it originally was in your eyes. Now, you can take that one simple problem and you can talk to a medical practitioner, you can talk to a mental health counselor, and they'd give you several different solutions. But in that moment, none of those solutions will come to your mind because in that moment, the problem is bigger than any solution that you can think of. And so I come on this evening because everyone that is here now, that is still walking on the face of this earth, has come to a moment where they felt like this problem is bigger than me. There is no solution to this problem. Therefore, it's time for me to go. It's time for me to check out. I'm just going to make my arrangements. Nobody's going to miss me because no one seems to want to help me with this problem. And so, one of the things that we constantly emphasize in Mad Cave is never alone. But in that moment, that's how you feel. In that moment, that's literally all you're thinking about. I'm alone. This is my problem. I'm going to have to deal with it. This is my problem. I'm going to have to find a solution to it. Before you get into that moment, 9 times out of 10, you've tried to figure out some solutions. And every single possible solution came to a dead end. And so, just a couple things I want to remind anyone that is in that moment. And I call it a moment because if we took a moment and we actually talked about those situations after that moment, you come to realize I magnified the problem. I gave the problem more energy than what it really was. And had I successfully committed suicide, the problem would have been resolved probably before my funeral services were even planned. And that's just how as real as it's going to be. I get emotional sometimes when I think about my family. And when I say my family, I'm not just talking about my blood relatives. I'm talking about my sisters in Christ, my brothers in Christ, my extended birth family, as well as my close family. Because we don't talk about things no more. We don't share our differences with each other. We internalize it. And so when we have problems, we would not like others to look at it as a weakness. So we deal with it on our own. That's when the suicidal thoughts come in. Now, I can't actually speak as if I am a practitioner. I'm only speaking from experience. My experience with that moment is in that moment, pay attention to who's calling your phone. Pay attention to who's knocking on your door. Because in that moment, there's always an intervention. That's why we say, but grace. In that moment, when the problem is bigger than any solution you can think of, God sends somebody. There are people that reach out to you when you least expect it. And you're saying, why is this person reaching out to me? Why is this person calling me? Whatever ulterior motive they might have had prior to that call might not have been the case this time. In that moment, God's grace is sufficient. He sends his warriors out. There are people that are on their knees nightly for you. There are people that are fasting and praying for you, and you don't even know it. So I come to you with the beautiful thing of knowing how good God's grace is. Suicidal moments are going to come. Some are heavier than others. Some people might admit they've had more than one. Some people might even admit they've had several in a week. But the moments is what they are. They're moments. If you can hold on to the grace, pay attention to what's happening around you in that moment. Not the problem, but what's happening around you. In that moment, you've lost a loved one. Your relationship is on the edge. Finances, big one. Finances is running low. Bills are backed up. Everywhere you look, there's tension between siblings, cousins, and so forth. But in that moment, there are people reaching out to you. Hey, how are you doing? In that moment, somebody invites you to church. In that moment, somebody tells you, hey, you want to join us for this women's fellowship. In that moment, the same moment of trouble, trials, tribulations, that same suicidal moment is planned. The gun is locked and loaded. The letter has been written. You have turned your phone on do not disturb. But even in that moment, grace comes. And grace says, this ain't it. This is not going to be the end of your story. Your story for his glory. Your survival is for his glory. You defeating the mind of the enemy is for his glory. We're not giving the enemy no more souls. We're not. So I come to you with this quick, and I know sometimes I can be long-winded. That's just the educator in me. My students say the same thing. But I come to you with a plea. And that plea is very simple. In that moment, pay attention. Pay attention to who's reaching out to you. Pay attention to your surroundings. Even in that moment, pay attention to the negative energy that is coming, because there are some people that in that moment, they'll accelerate that moment. So you might have to separate yourself from some people. Even separate yourself from work for a couple of days. Because in that moment, God is trying to pull out of you something that he wants to see fruit from. I want to see fruit from strength. I want to see fruit from endurance. I want to see fruit from that faith, the size of a mustard seed. I want to see that strengthen you. That's what he wants to see. So in that moment, he's like, yeah, I'm testing you. I want to see if you're going to let these bills get the best of you. I want to see if you're going to let, just because that person left or this person left or that friend dogged you or this person did this to you, I want to see if in that moment you still going to hold on to grace, or you going to give up. I believe there are so many people that are still battling with these moments. But I also believe that grace will cover them. I believe that. I'm fighting back tears, y'all. I'm fighting back tears. And the reason why I'm fighting back tears is because I love to see the enemy lose, especially when it comes to the battle of the mind. But I want you to win. On this side, I want you to win. I want you to realize that tomorrow is going to be a better day. It has to be a better day. And tomorrow there is a solution to this problem. Tomorrow the moment will be different. The problem won't be as big. The arguments won't be as long. The bills may have an extra due date on it. But don't let the moment take you out. Please, in that moment, if you don't have no one to reach out to you in that moment, there are suicide hotlines that make it so simple. Dial 988 from your phone. Suicide hotline. In that moment, instead of focusing on the problem, open your ears. Listen. Not to the negativity, but listen to what's coming at you that's telling you we're going to make it through this. We're going to get back on our feet. We're going to win this. Together, we're going to win this. Never alone. M.A.D thrives on that. Never alone. key thing I tell all of my supporters and clients: never alone. Never. Before I sign off, I do want to thank each and every one of you that donated to the Harvest for Heroes. Of course, tomorrow is Veterans Day. And so, of course, this week, everything that was donated was actually distributed to the veterans this week that are being served in the mental health division at the VA hospital in Columbia, South Carolina. So all of your donations have been delivered. And we thank you for your support. For those of you that may still want to deliver, we've been asked to extend it, so we will extend it. We will not cut it off. So if you feel the need that you want to donate still to the cause, you can. They're not leaving there tomorrow. Some may be discharged tomorrow, but some of them will still be there. We were able to collect journals, coloring books, what else? We got pens, adult coloring books, so many different things we were able to give to those veterans. And even though it's just Veterans Day, we have so many people that are still dealing with PTSD and depression and anxiety. And so we take honor in just being able to give a little something back to those that have given to our country. So, to all of those veterans that are watching, we wish you all the best on Veterans Day and the days after thereof. We thank you for your service. We thank you for your continued support for this country, even those that are serving. We thank you. Thank you to all of our supporters. Thank you to those of you that are viewing this. We also would like for you to share this video. There's somebody that may be in that moment right now. We want them to survive that moment. And because we want them to survive that moment, they might need just a quick video to remind them they're never alone. Thank you for watching. Y'all have a good evening. Bye-bye.